Hello, Facebook world, this and YouTube and LinkedIn. Trish Jenkins here with Joyce Weiss, the Queen of Conflict Resolution. So we are going to hear her some stories, but also some practical strategies about dealing with conflict in the workplace and perhaps in some personal relationships. And we are going to get straight into it right after this.
The strongest prison bars are in your head. Leaders and teams, it's time for a jailbreak.
Well, hello, Joyce. Joyce, welcome to the program. Tell us a bit about yourself.
Thank you. Oh, I'm thrilled to be here. And I love that intro, by the way. That promo was fabulous. So yes, I am the Queen of Conflict Resolution. And I help organizations and individuals to make sure that everybody feels heard and respected so they can go kick conflict to the curb. So it's whether it's coaching clients, whether it's virtual training, that's what I'm all about. And there's a reason why I do the unheard stuff, because I was unheard. But I'm not going to share that story. I'll share. I've got another one that I think is even better.
Well, we might coax it out of you during the broadcast at some point.
I'll talk fast.
So tell us how you got into this and what you would like us to know about.
People ask me all the time why I got into conflict resolution. And when I tell them that I married a lawyer, they start to laugh. And that's exactly why I got into it. Because when you marry a lawyer or you're around lawyers, they're great at making people feel defensive in their negotiation. I didn't have a chance to exist in this relationship with that kind of mentality. So I had to figure out my own plan without getting a divorce to figure out how to make it work. So this was years and years and years of figuring this out. And as a result of that, just a few months ago, I remembered what my turning point was in my life and why I started doing conflict resolution. Because if I can feel heard, which I am now, to whomever, anybody can. So that's my story, Trish, and I'm sticking to it.
Oh, that's so good. That's just really good. I've just got a notice saying here that it's having a bit of trouble streaming to LinkedIn and to keep checking it. So apologies for that. So we'll see. These are one of the thrills about going live. But we'll see. We'll just see how it goes. And if it doesn't, then we will share it there manually afterwards.
Fine.
So, yeah, I was trying to resolve that while you were speaking. But anyway, that's fine. That's good. Now, look, I was looking at your website, and I also read some of your background and your bio, and you've got some amazing stories, and I'd love to. Well, here's the thing: I'm interested in conflict. Or resolution. I mean, as you know, I spent 8 months incarcerated with some very, very difficult people, and I tell you what, that just honed my conflict resolution skills. And sometimes people don't necessarily have the logic when their emotions are high to deal with stuff. And what I learned to do actually turned out to be some of the things that you suggest for people. And when I did your quiz, because you invited me to do the quiz, which I will put up here. In fact, I might even do that. That's the kicking conflict. There's a free assessment. I'm going to put this on the screen, and I'm also going to put the website up. We've got kickconflicttothecurb.com.
You got that.
Yeah. Kick conflict to the. This is where you'll go to see it, and there is there is the take the free assessment, and then I did that, And then there was some follow-up that came from that where there were some great suggestions. So talk to me about, well, you said you've got a story to tell that's a professional one, but also some lessons from that you'd like people to be able to take away.
Well, do you want me to tell you my professional story first and then?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, then we could definitely. Have you ever made a mistake, Trish? A huge mistake at the proudest moment of your life? Well, I did. In 1993, I received my certified speaking professional designation from the National Speakers Association. And I was beyond excited and proud, and something happened to my brain. All humility went out of the window. Now, you're going to love this story, I think. So I was ready to get on an airplane to go to Atlantic City to open up a professional organization with a group of customer service reps. And in the airplane, I said, God, these people are so lucky to have a CSP speak to them. Do you understand what I was going through then? Not the best mindset. So I started to believe in my own hype. And after 5 minutes, I got on the stage. 3,000 people walked out of the room. I'm going to repeat that. 3,000 people walked out of the room. And I was obviously devastated. What in the world did I do to make these people walk out? And I went to the hotel room and I said, oh, what's the first thing that we do, Trish, is we blame everything. Oh, it was a lousy time. It was after lunch. Everybody was tired. The ventilation was poor and nobody could breathe very well. Then it dawned on me, I don't like playing victim. We all do play victim, maybe if it's a little while. So that's when I got the answers. What went wrong? Again, believing my own hype. I didn't do the normal research that I usually do. I didn't know that these customer service reps were at the beginning of their career, and my opening was way too advanced for them. I didn't do self-care, which means I didn't go to sleep early. Why should I? I'm a CSP. So the third thing that happened to me, I wanted to quit. I mean, 3,000 people, it's a lot of people. And here I thought I was so good. Then I called home and I warned my husband. I said, you're going to get a basket case when I come back. I walked in after I got off the airplane in Detroit, Michigan, and there was a bouquet of flowers that said, you may have bombed in Atlantic City, but you're dynamite with me. And that's when it dawned on me. These life lessons from 1993 were so important to me. So when I tell the story, I got to be real here, Trish. I have some coaching and speaking friends and colleagues who say, don't tell that story. Oh my God. Well, let me tell you why that I'm throwing those comments out the window, like we should to most people that tell us not to do something. Every time we reveal something real about us, people relate to us better. They feel more comfortable. They build a trust. So when I tell and express some of my feelings about life, we have to concentrate when things go well, and we need to celebrate. And we also have to have balance, like what I did, transfer all the way from no humility, oh, aren't I cool, to now, hey, every time I do a program, which if they're all virtual now, I'm always saying to myself, they could be that 3,000 people. Make sure that you do the research, you have self-care, you don't concentrate on doing everything well and just think you're great. And it's the other side too. When we make mistakes, not to stay down for a long time. That is the lesson, because we don't, and that is such a big one, because we cannot equate our success when we make mistakes and say, oh my God, I'm terrible. I suck at whatever. That means we're human beings. So this is one of the reasons why I share this story, because people say to me, oh my God, 3,000 people didn't walk out, but can I share mine? Voila.
Wow. It's so true. When we share our vulnerabilities, it just makes things so much easier. And I do find that myself with the story of, having failed so colossally. I thought, I don't want anybody to know. But when I do share out of it, it gives people permission to be vulnerable themselves.
Yes.
So that mindset of lifting ourselves up out of it is really, really important. And finding the lessons quickly. That's great, Joyce. Thanks.
I that's what I was thinking, because I know you asked me, which I was so honored to be on this show on Trish TV, and I said, oh God, which stories? Because I have so many stories, like we all do. And at this stage of my career, if I'm not authentic now, when will? And this is what I share, with my clients, with my students in the class. And Trish, some of the conflict resolution strategies that I have, they're all in the Weiss. Listen to that. I just created this, the Weiss Communication Success Plan. And there are 5 strategies that people go through in my class or in coaching. So when people have conflict, I'm finding, because you're talking to me, so I'm going to share with some of my experience with corporate clients, is that they don't feel heard. And
they don't feel heard.
They don't feel heard. So when they come to me, and I belong to a coaching summit where I learn from the best coaches all over the world, and one of the coaches said, clients go to coaches many times, and we don't know the reason, because what they need is what the coaches had to go through. So here, me not feeling heard, that was one of my issues when I was younger. And I had to figure out how to feel heard. Now I'm the queen of conflict resolution. Wow. So sweetheart, if I can do it, anyone can.
Yeah. So give us one of those 5 about like maybe something someone can do maybe tomorrow to just shift so that they can feel a bit more heard.
Okay. This is the 5th strategy. Let's go right to the top. It's called verbal Aikido. And let's say somebody pushes you. What happens usually is that we push back. So in verbal Aikido, I let people know that the person who pulls back is the one who is stronger. So there I was doing a live presentation to a group of firefighters. And I was talking about a couple of the strategies. So there was an individual who raised his hand. He was red in the face. He said, Joyce, you seem like a really nice lady. And I was waiting for the but this isn't going to work on the streets, because we've got homeless people and blah, blah. What are you going to do? You got all these people looking at. He would push you, and I used verbal Aikido. I said, Rick, you're right. It's not going to work on the streets. It's going to work in your office. When you have bullies, which they did, they had bullies in their office. And he said to me, Joyce, you're right. Thanks for setting me straight. So when somebody pushes you tomorrow, let's say somebody pushes you, makes you feel defensive, instead of pushing back, figure out, maybe it's parent saying the same thing. You repeat it.
Agreement and then take them further.
Yes. Yeah. Instead of pushing back, it's going to work. No, it's not. It's going to work. I agree. You're right. I saw him relax. Now, you can't say you're right all the time if they're wrong. So then there are that's when the other strategies come in.
Yeah, and because so often we want to have that, no, I don't agree with you. No, you're wrong but if you can get alongside. I often see it like this, that it's easier to move someone to your track if you're heading in the same direction. So you find that place of commonality, like say,
Yes.
find that place of commonality and then move them over. So
Absolutely.
that it's a slightly different, just a different way. And people are so used to pushing back or forcing the issue that it disarms them to see that you actually agree with them. Like, I agree with you, and gosh, what are we going to do about this part of what we're doing? Because it really doesn't seem to be working so well. Love that. Can you give us another one, Joyce?
Another strategy?
Yeah, give us another
Oh, wow. So we all have triggers. The triggers are the strategy. Okay.
I've got to stop you there.
Okay.
Just because I really want to. Triggers is a buzzword now, and it's so important. I'm so glad that you brought this up, because we don't realize how easily people do get triggered and how we can ourselves. And we often blame people for getting triggered. And so I really want people, as they're listening, to pay attention to what you're about to say, because triggers are real, and they're important that we know how to deal with them. I just wanted to scaffold that so that people really pay attention. Keep going, Joyce.
Well, I'm glad I said something that gotcha. This is good. So triggers, it's anything that we allow ourselves to be stressed with. It could be a person, it could be a restaurant that you don't want to go to anymore because a loved one used to go there and this person's not alive anymore. So I used to have a trigger. This person's still in my life, and I used to go nuts. The minute this person opened up her mouth, I just always either said something that I wish I didn't, or I learned to leave the room. Now, you asked, this is a chair. And hopefully, can you see it looks like a chair? Okay.
Yep.
So I want you, Trish, and everybody else watching, listening, the next time you have a trigger, someone that just you allow to drive you crazy, and you're with them a lot, think of them as a chair. If you get mad at a chair for being a chair, that's sort of crazy. So why should we get mad at people for who they are, whether it's negativity, whether they're narcissists, whether they're bullies, whoever that trigger is? Think of them as a chair. This sounds insane, but you're going like that. So I think you got it. And people say this is silly. Then they say, oh my God, my trigger doesn't bother me anymore. Because they do things because of who they are. Stop taking it personal, folks. It's usually, sometimes it is us. It usually has nothing to do with us. Wow.
And we've just had David Deer add, hello, David. Good to see you. Did see you comment on here that, yes, it's great. And triggers are real. No. So, thank you for your contribution, David. It's great to see you here. And David is an American who visited Australia, and we had the pleasure of hosting him. Oh. And I believe he's still single, girls. So, no. Very handsome, very snappy dresser, this young man.
Ooh,
so now he'll probably never post again because I've just embarrassed him. So
no, it's all good stuff, David. Enjoy it. Enjoy the moment of stardom.
Very good. Okay. Oh, look, and this is the thing, is becoming aware of it. So think of the person as a chair. I hadn't thought of that. I thought, often I'll think of them as a small child that's frightened and angry, and because they're frightened, they're acting out, because that anger is a reflection of fear. Mm-hmm. And not having control. And so I'll often picture them as a small child having a little tantrum, and that takes out the intimidation, for me. And trust me,
absolutely.
I did see a lot of temper tantrums when I was away, and people, and they have a lot of triggers too, because when people have been abused or had and mm-hmm. most people in that kind of disadvantage there's a lot that sets them off, and there has mm-hmm. a lot of mental health and you can't see mental illness. You know, if someone's got a walking stick, you can see a walking stick, but you can't see the damage that's gone on here.
No.
And so we can't always expect people to behave in and the other thing we can't expect to do is to know what our triggers are and be sensitive to them if they don't know what they are, and often we don't. So
absolutely. Matter of fact, with my daughter, she's just like I am. So sometimes we get along great. Sometimes we don't because we're both very open, very focused. And so I did ask her about a month ago, Trish. I said, I know what my triggers are. And honey, her name's Wendy. I said, Wendy, I know I'm a trigger to you sometimes when I talk about work too much or this too much. So I said, please tell me, what do I do that triggers you? And sure enough, I was right. You know, I knew some of the things that I do. So I said, you know what? Do me a favor. Go like this the next time I talk too much. I don't want to be your trigger. And so help me, we're having so much fun. She's going like that the minute she sees me. So that's not supposed to happen, right?
That's true, yeah. And I guess when we recognize our own triggers, we go, oh, hang on, I'm being triggered. You can always come out of yourself and recognize and go, I don't want this to have power over me anymore.
No.
So you got to find a different way to look at it. It kind of goes both ways. You know, I don't want to go around triggering people.
No.
But I also don't want to go around stepping on eggshells either.
Exactly.
So I want to be considered, and that's quite a relevant conversation in this era that we're in of political correctness and people being offended and sometimes rightly so, and sometimes it's, you know, when an older man calls me love,
yes,
I don't mind. You know, I could get offended and say he shouldn't talk to me like that. Mm-hmm. But you know what I do? You know how I respond?
How?
I answer and I call him sweetheart. Why not? Now I am of an age where I can probably get away with it, but it's not always meant in a derogatory way. It's the era that they grew up in. Mm-hmm. So yes, they're learning to change, kinda, but it's not always just because someone calls me like. Look, often it's they don't remember your name.
Right.
We do in Australia. We just call each other, men do. Men don't call each other love. You know what they do? They call each other mate.
Yes, that's great.
Mate. That's what they do.
That's good. I'm going to start using that here in the States because I go, well, you know what you just brought up about a gentleman and you're not reacting, somebody else, it would be a trigger. You know, it depends on their background, the woman's background. Well, I know one of my missions, besides getting everybody heard and making sure that they find their voice with Joyce, okay, a friend of mine came up with that, is that there's healthy conflict and conflict that's not healthy. And that's my biggest mission, is to show people that conflict can be so good instead of putting it underneath the rug. There's no rug there, so I don't know why I did that, but to sweep it under the rug. And so all of these things that we're talking about today, it's some things that we shouldn't bring up. Hold your tongue. Why do we have to have conflict with every conversation? Of course not. But if you're going to bed angry or insecure or not confident, then that's an indication that something has to be done. I mean, this is huge with me. I'm having discussions with people, all whether they're coaches or my clients, and I'm not going to ever push anybody if they're not ready. But man, when they're ready and they open up the door, I go, okay, let's talk about what you need to do to feel heard, to get the respect you deserve, all that good stuff that we've been talking about.
Well, that just sounds fantastic. You know, but we can't assume that everybody's has been brought up with a thing called simple good manners. That being considerate, you know, that someone's considerate. If you consider it, then you just pause and you're kind of thoughtful about that person's background, and that perhaps they do see things differently. And often we just assume that everybody's had the same upbringing as us.
Yes.
Yeah. And yes, it goes both ways, but expecting someone else to be, just know how to do things.
Mm-hmm.
And some people should, if they're a leader, they should have been trained, they should be put in, they should is about the most disempowering phrase you can use in your vocabulary. What you can do is proactively work on what I could.
Yes.
And how can I help? And even is it necessary? And sometimes it is. Sometimes you do need to say, hey, when you use this phrase, I actually interpret it this way because of the way I've been brought up. So it would help me if you could, and you make it about the issue and not about the person.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. That's probably one of your.
Thank you. Yeah.
Talk to us about separating the person from the issue.
Well, let me tell you I'm going to give you all this, not all, but here's another strategy that totally goes with what you just brought up. It's called making conversation safe. I don't want to, I do want to. I don't want to cause stress between us. Such as if somebody's like the man who, no, not that one, because that didn't bother you. Oh, I don't want to create stress between us. I don't. I do want to have an important conversation about boundaries. You can have that conversation about, I love that dog's bark. What kind of dog?
Sorry, I just muted my mic.
Oh, my mute. Hey, the dog has to be heard, Trish.
We've probably got a delivery. No, I just quickly muted it, but he's fine. So
that's fine. We all have to be heard. Dogs are.
He's keeping us safe.
Yes.
From the delivery driver, the truck that comes up the driveway. So look, we're working from home. I do my best, but he is my working buddy, my working companion. If he's not here, he's scratching at the door. So it's all good.
It's all great.
See, we acknowledge the disturbance, and then we move on.
So, Trish, I don't want to create stress between us. I do want to have a great interview, and that dog is an asset. Okay, so, but you see what I did? I don't want to. I do want to. You can use that for almost everything. Now, then you got to go deeper and deeper. But when people say to me, I don't know where to start, and that's what we do in the class, Kick Conflict to the Curb, we start at the beginning because people come and or coaching clients, where do I start? So we got to take baby steps. We were talking about that when we were, before the show started. We all have to take baby steps. And when you have a plan, like anything in life, then you can transform yourself from wherever you were to where you want to be. But you can't do it on your own. At times we can, but many times we can't, especially when we try to, I'm going to deal with that bully, but nothing happens.
That is so good, Joyce. I want to make sure that we remind people that, and there's so much more that could be said, but I do like to keep this under half hour so that people find, yep, I can watch that. And it's not just, if you want more of what Joyce is bringing to do with conflict, then by all means go to Kick Conflict to the Curb to get the respect you deserve, remembering that other people deserve your respect too, of course. So, and take the free quiz, the free assessment, and see where you fit, and then see what some answers might be. But by all means, I highly recommend what Joyce offers, what she's about. She's a professional speaker. She's a trainer. She knows how to do these things. And Joyce, I just want to thank you so much for being on the show. You've been fun, you've been interesting, and you haven't made us feel badly for getting cranky with people. You've given us some great strategies. So thank you so much for being on the show.
Well, thank you so much for asking me. I have had so much fun, and that's part of life. Conflict and fun. You can have both. You don't have to be so serious and angry all the time, folks.
Amen. All right. Catch you later, everybody.